And we are live. Hello, everyone. I'm Jessper Maquindang. And if you're here to build a stronger team and a more effective company culture, you're in the right place. In each episode, we have guests that share tips, strategies, and insights to help you and your people thrive. And I'm very excited to introduce today's guest. Ken Miller, CFRE, is a best selling author, dynamic speaker, and transformative business leader whose powerful life story continues to motivate professionals and communities across the country. As the author of Becoming Ken, he shares his riveting journey from addiction and adversity to personal and professional triumph, offering a candid blueprint for leadership, resilience, and reinvention. With over 2 decades of experience and the prestigious Certified Fundraising Executive Credential, Ken brings both authority and authenticity to every engagement. Let's welcome Ken Miller. Ken, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Jessper. I'm looking forward to it. Let's do this.
Very excited to have you. I'm very excited to talk about today's topic about finding the right questions, especially when it comes to mentorship. So let's look at the research. Can you tell me more about the data and statistics in the field?
Sure. So what we do know is that mentoring programs within organizations, whether they're for-profit or non-for-profit, 98% of the Fortune 500 have an official mentoring program within the organization, whether they call it mentoring, they may call it workplace sponsorship, or they may even call it or use the term coaching, even though it's a little different than mentoring. But we know 98% of the Fortune 500. What I'm more interested in is those small and medium businesses, SMBs, and do they have a mentoring program built in, or are they looking at those programs? So we know that. We also know that your year-over-year profits for Fortune 500s that have a mentoring program are up 110%. And we have factual data to back that up. And then one of the most important for all companies to think about in a mentoring program is there's one statistic that shows that there is a lessening of the employee turnover by 30% if you have a built-in or have an official, what we call explicit mentoring program.
Those are very insightful statistics, and I do have some more research to share as I've been looking into it as well. But before I do, was there any other research that you wanted to share as well?
Well, let's talk more specific in different areas, and I can probably give you some more information that I know anecdotally or through my experience in different statistics toward the mentoring field or channel that we use in organizations.
Absolutely. And a piece of research that I found, and this is from the Harvard Business Review, and they discovered that 90% of employees with a career mentor are happy at work. Wanted to get your thoughts.
Wow. That's very, very high, but it's HBR, and I'm a big fan of HBR, Harvard Business Review. And, but it's not surprising, because one of the key things of being a mentee is you have a feeling that you're not doing it alone. You're just out there in the wilderness, no matter where your position, whether you're C-suite or you're just a team leader or just an employee. And I don't mean by just, it's not to diminish you, but whatever your level within the organization, you still feel that you have a third party, neutral, or one that really believes in your best interest, that is supporting you on this career journey. So I can see that. I can see the 90%.
Excellent. And one more piece of research that I found was from software platform Mentorink, and they discovered that 84% of CEOs have said that mentoring helped them avoid costly mistakes. Wanted to get your thoughts.
Oh, let me put it this way. I truly believe the higher you rise in the organization, the more you need a mentor, because you're not many times prepared for the C-suite. You're not prepared for leadership of an organization. I'm talking about CEO, president, executive director. There's a lot that goes into that that's not written on paper. And you need to have someone who has that experience and or has the knowledge or the contacts that can help you to navigate that level of responsibility and accountability to the organization, and really also to yourself. I think that's phenomenal. I love that number.
Excellent perspective, Ken. And one more that I found from the National Library of Medicine. And overall, they discovered that mentoring is linked to a wide range of favorable behavioral, attitudinal, health-related, relational, motivational, and career outcomes. Ken, wanted to get your thoughts on that.
100% belief in that. So one of the key things that people will understand over time, and depending on literally how you're mentoring, there's different ways to mentor. But one of the things about mentoring is, again, it's giving you a basis for some emotional health. And what I mean by that, if I have a challenge, a concern, a problem, I can go to my mentor. I'll be very frank with you, I reached out to one today, this morning. And here I'm 62 and I teach mentoring classes, but I reached out to my mentor because I have a challenge within one of my businesses. I own 5 businesses and I have a challenge within one of them. And I just wanted to see, but because it's a challenge, emotionally, it's concerning to me. It creates fear, anxiety, angst, whatever we may want to call it. But I can reach out literally. I haven't gotten a hold of him yet, but I can reach out and probably in 5 or 10 minutes, a lot of those feelings will be relieved. Sometimes you just need someone to agree. You just need someone to co-sign, you know, that feeling is legitimate for this circumstance. And so I'm a big one on health and wellness as a byproduct of having a mentor. And let me also say this while we're on this conversation, you can have more than one mentor. You can have one more. I had 3. You can have more than one, okay? Because again, a mentor is not paid either. So a coach is paid, but a mentor isn't. That's going more into the details of the difference between a coach and a mentor. But yeah, I'm a big believer for wellness. That's really the reason I want to, because I am challenged by this concern or problem I have, and I would like to feel better about it and then make that decision with confidence.
Excellent, Ken. Thank you for sharing your perspectives. Now, let's take a deeper dive into this topic of mentoring and discovering the right questions. Ken, I'd like to learn more about your journey. What gave you the inspiration to really jump into the field of network mentoring?
So I went to Dartmouth College, Ivy League, graduated in 1984. I came out, I was obviously African-American in Anchorage, Alaska, going into the corporate world for the first time. And I knew nothing about the corporate world. I just went to college and high school. Anyway, I needed someone to help me navigate. And I reached out to 2 or 3 men. One of them, his name is Jim Posey. And the other one was like a Lee Elder. But I could be incorrect. This is 1986, 85, 86. And I needed like a role model. I wanted an African-American male who was successful in the world of business, because that's where I was. And there wasn't a lot of them in Anchorage, Alaska. There wasn't, not 1985, 86. So I found them, and those gentlemen helped me tremendously. And to this day, Jim Posey is still a mentor of mine 40 years later. So anyway, that's how I got involved with it. Then I had a couple setbacks, and you know my story, Jessper, but I had a couple setbacks, and wasn't in the corporate world for about 20, 25 years. I came back into the corporate world. In fact, I went into the world of business owner and entrepreneur. And when I went in there, even while I still was in the corporate, I was in the nonprofit world, I needed some more mentoring. And so I reached out to 2 other gentlemen, and they became my mentors also. And so I've had about 3 or 4 total. I've had maybe 5 over the 40 years, but right now I have 3 very solid and long-term. None of my mentors have been with me less than 10 years. And I've been mentoring. So that's the other key, is now what do you do? I'm being mentored. Now it's time for me to mentor. I've been mentoring for 15 years. I actively work with 13, but I've been up to 29 men all over the country that I mentor for free.
Impressive. Ken, thank you for sharing your journey. And as we're taking a deeper dive, I'd like to know, from your perspective, why should people pay more attention to this world of mentoring, and what are people missing out when they're not putting enough emphasis in mentorship?
Well, what you're missing out is career growth. Yeah, you can grow. You can maybe be the CEO without a mentor. again, we know what the numbers are. If you talk to a CEO, I'm saying this to the listeners, go talk to a CEO, executive director, president, and ask them, do you have a mentor? Or have you ever had a mentor? And I bet you'll get 90% of them say yes, they have. Because again, navigating the corporate world at that level. And again, it doesn't, I would obviously start as an employee with a mentor so I can get into team leader or mid-management. Then I'd continue, and you can change your mentors, okay? Because once you get into that mid-management, you probably looking for somebody who's C-suite or president. And then when you get into the C-suite, you're looking for a president because you're if you want to. If you don't want to grow in your career, fine. And I'm comfortable. There are people who do not want to grow in their career. My wife is very comfortable at the level that she's at. She does not need or want a mentor. Understandable. I wanted to grow. And with those mentors leading me, directing me to greater success, because that's what I wanted, then I think they're great. But let me just say this real quick. Let me go back to this. What does a mentor do? When I mentor, and again, I've mentored business people, I've mentored guys with doctorates. I mentored, like I said, mentored probably 50, 60 men over the years. The first thing I do is I identify the goal, the aspiration, the dream. I call it the dream. My dream is to be the president of this company. My dream is to have 5 businesses. My dream is whatever it is. Just let me know what the dream is. And then I also say to them, I give you permission to dream, because many people have had their dream taken away from them. And what I mean by that, they've had external people, places, or things say, you cannot have this dream. I believe in your dream. I have not heard a dream yet that I don't believe in, that you can accomplish. You can. I'm going to assist you. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to provide information, external information, usually through books and podcasts for you to study. Every person I work with starts out with the same 2 books, which are The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden and The Speed of Trust by Covey. Okay, every guy. And then I will, put other books in front of you, or podcasts or recordings in front of you. Okay, depending on maybe what your niche is or what you're trying to accomplish. Then the next thing that I do is I introduce you to people. It's not all about me, but I know a lot of people. Okay, you can go to my LinkedIn. It's about 6,000. I know those people. The only reason they got on that list is because I know them. But I know a lot of people. So I'll introduce you to people. Then the next thing I will do is I will support you on the journey. I've been blessed, Jessper. We've talked before, but I've been blessed. And if you need to go to a conference, or if you need to go to some event and your funds aren't there, holler at me. It's not a loan. It's a gift that I can do that to assist you. Not every mentor is going to do that, but I've had mentors do. I didn't even know a mentor sent me to Leadership Anchorage, which was like $1,400. I didn't know that there was a fee. I just found out I was going to Leadership Anchorage. He paid for that. Okay, he paid for that. Didn't tell me. That's humble. That's humility. But he saw something in me and wanted, and it was great. It's been great ever since, Leadership Anchorage. So those are just 3 of the things. And then probably the most important is I support you emotionally. Remember, a lot of times men are coming to me because they have a challenge. They have a setback. Okay, let's talk about it. And I have empathy and I will listen. You don't have to go through this alone, bro. And that's what I say to them. And then I'll say the last one, the 5th one is I tell them I love them. And I'm not saying every mentor does this, but I tell all my guys, I love you. You know I love you, don't you? And then, oh yeah. And, and then the other thing, every time I meet with them, we always start off with a win. I work psychologically just to get people into a sense that you are a winner. So tell me about a win. Every guy I work with now, they know as soon as they get on, the first thing we're going to say, oh yeah, you want to know about a win, or here, I got these wins. I got 3 wins since the last time we met. Let's do it. Let's talk. Come on, share it with me. And then we can talk about if we have a challenge or a concern, but I'm always going to start off with a win. So that's what I do when I mentor.
Thank you for sharing the value and impact of mentoring and the framework that you've designed around mentorship. Now, as we're taking a deeper dive, Ken, you mentioned the distinction between mentoring and coaching. And in a personal conversation we had before, you brought up the concept of sponsors. Could you tell us more about the distinctions between those three different types of mentoring, coaching, and sponsorship?
Yeah. So I speak on stages across the country on this topic specifically because people get them confused. They think coaching is mentoring. They think mentoring is coaching. All right. And I'll keep it a real 30,000 foot level. And the other one is the actual term is workplace sponsorship. Okay. But we can call it sponsoring. So coaching is usually for a very specific outcome that you pay for. That's coaching. Okay. It can be transition coaching. It can be life coaching. It can be evaluation coaching. That's where you get like a 360 eval at the job, and they identify the areas of improvement, and they'll pay for a coach to help you with that specific communication with communities of color throughout one, or DEI or whatever it may be. But they'll give you it. That's coaching. Coaching is paid. Coaching is very specific to the individuals being coached doing most of the speaking. The coach will bring out information, will give you direction, but it's a lot of that's on you. Whereas in mentoring, a lot of times I'm doing the majority of the talking because I have the knowledge. And what you're doing is taking notes and or absorbing information. Okay. And then workplace sponsorship is someone in management, has to be in management, that is sponsoring you for your growth with a desired result that you'll be more valuable to the company. Okay. But you may leave. That's fine. A good workplace sponsor doesn't really care so much. They just want your growth. So they're sending you to the conferences. They're putting you on certain teams. They're putting you, volunteering you for certain things that you will be seen by others so that you can grow within that company. That is a workplace sponsor. And in good companies, it's a policy within their company that you will identify individuals from a lower rank within the company to sponsor. That's a part of your management duties, is to sponsor individuals. Because the key thing is you're identifying who has potential. You don't sponsor everybody. Your company can't afford that. Nor they can tell by their work habits and or desires that they are not the material that will probably be growing with this company for a long time. Or they're so comfortable in their position, they don't want to grow. They don't want, it's not even grow. They don't want more responsibility. Some people do not want to be a team lead. Some people do not want to be a manager and or a leader. And I'm cool with that. I've worked with a whole group of grant writers. A lot of grant writers just want to write grants. They don't want to do anything else than write their grants. They don't want to lead anybody. They don't want to manage anybody. I'm cool with that. In the beginning, I thought everybody wanted to, grow and, lead a team and be a manager and run a company. No, you know that, Jessper. So anyway, that's the difference. So mentoring, and the other thing is coaching very rarely will get involved with people's life. As a mentor, I know about your wife. I know about your kids. I know everything about you, everything you're willing to share. And it may take time. Remember, I've been with some guys for 15 years. I know everything because they know they can trust me, because I don't want anything from you. I've never gotten $1 from a mentee. Never would. I've given thousands of dollars to mentees for, going to conferences and doing things for them to grow. But no, I don't want anything from you other than your success. The one thing I want is for your dream to come to fruition. That's what I want.
Excellent. Ken, thank you for sharing the differences between coaching, mentoring, and workplace sponsorship, and just more about the value of mentoring. So as we're reflecting on the impact of mentoring, curious to know, especially when it comes to that, how do you personally define the right questions in mentorship?
Experience is, and how you define because I've been doing this so long, like I said, 15 years, and I also coach, but that's, I'm a business coach. But as a mentor, in the beginning, when I first started in 2010, I identified some areas. And then once you have so much experience, like I said, probably 50 guys I've mentored, because I know I was doing 28 at one time last year. That was too much for me. But anyway, you identify, and in the end, we're human. The questions are the same. The question, what do you want? What do you want to accomplish? What do you believe is holding you back? What are your strengths? What are your relationships with others and family members or partners? Okay. And more importantly, what is your relationship with God and what is your relationship with self? Let's talk about those. And we talk about all those areas. And again, some people are, and again, this is a key thing. As a mentor, I meet them where they're at. Not every guy on the first meeting is going to tell me about their relationship with their wife. Why not? I might have one or two guys I still don't know a lot. I know who they are, but I don't know a lot about their relationship. That's where they want to go and where they're comfortable. I'm cool with that. And then there's other guys. I might as well be their father. I know so much about them. But again, that gives me more information because I have past experience. I remember when we dealt with this 3 years ago. I remember when we talked about this 7 years ago. It's come back up. Okay, let's talk about it. Where do you want to go? Okay. How are we tracking along the dream? Because I have a spreadsheet too. So me personally, I have to have a spreadsheet so I know where everybody is, in that journey. I know what I've done for them. And more importantly, I have the thing about the dream and I know what that dream is. And that's for a couple guys, it's changed. But then again, I've also had a few guys, the dream came to fruition. Now it's time for a new dream. Come on, where do we want to go next? That mountain wasn't high enough. Okay. And let's enjoy the journey as it goes along. Okay.
Ken, speaking of your journey, can you tell us more about how your experience of mentorship and mentoring has evolved over the years?
Yeah, that's a good question. Great question. So I started mentoring in 2010. So just to back up, and not going to go into a lot of details, I'm an ex-felon. I got out of prison in 2007 with no skills. I move up to Anchorage, Alaska, and I run into my old mentor, Jim Posey, who I hadn't seen in 30, 35 years. And asked him if he would mentor me again. He said, of course, would love, and we talked a little bit about, my history in between since I had seen him. And then I went to an event and I found my first mentee, a guy named Xavier Mason. He was a freshman in college. He's now gotten a master's from Oxford, dual master's from Oxford University since then. But he had a dream and we helped work toward that dream, and he's doing very, very well. But when I first started, you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know what I didn't know. In the beginning, I looked at mentoring more like coaching. Okay, I'm going to help you specifically do this. And then what I realized, at least for the men I work with, and this is another thing I might as well bring up now, I only work with men. Mentoring is too vulnerable. There's too much emotion. There's too much intimacy. And that's a great word for this, for me to mentor a woman. And I'm a married man and I just don't go there. So that's me. But if you are a woman and you need a mentor and you're comfortable, as long as you set your boundaries, great. I'm just not as a mentor mentoring women. And then I also chose to just mentor Black men of color. That was my choice. I'm comfortable with it because I knew the need that we had within that community. So anyway, when I first started off, I thought it was going to be more like coaching. And then as I have grown and the relationship, let me give an example. So you have a problem with your output at work. But if we don't deal with the fundamental that you have a problem really with your relationship with your wife, and some of the things that you haven't been able to talk to another man about, or at least another man that has your best interest at heart, not your buddy that you run ball with, play basketball with, but someone who literally has probably been there, done some things, and can relate to what you're saying, then it doesn't, your performance at work is not going to improve, because you're bringing in all that stress and all that angst and pain and discomfort into the work environment. So again, I learned this to deal with everyone. I tell them nothing's offline. Nothing is, not nothing, nothing's off the table. We can talk about it, and we do. I've talked about some incredible things with, it's not incredible, they're just things that we do and things that are done to us as humans. So that's the main growth. I got away from really coaching for free to mentoring the whole man.
Ken, thank you for sharing your journey. And I'd like to know, when it comes to mentorship, what common mistakes do you see people making when it comes to mentoring?
They coach. That's the number one. They're coaching for a specific. If you want to coach and move on. But I'm talking about a mentor is a friend, a confidant, an advisor. Remember, the other thing is, as a mentor, I will tell you the truth. I've literally looked, guys, just like we're looking right now at each other, and said, I'm not cool with that. I'm not co-signing on that behavior. Let's talk about this. I'm not firing you. I've never fired. Another thing, mentoring is open-ended. I can't say this enough. Coaching always has a time limit. You get coached for a month, a year, 3 months, whatever the company or you are paying for, but it's always closed. Whereas mentoring is open-ended. I've been mentoring, like I said, my oldest person's 15. I got 14, 13 years. And until they fire me, I just use that term, till they let go of me, I'll continue mentoring till as long as I'm breathing and can, mentor you. So that's number one. The other mistake that individuals make is they don't know how to mentor. They don't know how. They have no system. They have no process. And so one of the things I'm doing is I'm writing a book on mentoring within communities of color. And that's literally the title of the book. And it could be for any community, but that's what I choose to call the book because I'm comfortable calling it that. And what it is an outline. And you say, well, what gives you the right to do that? Well, what gives me the right is that I've done it. And I've sat across a man who has tears in his eyes because his dream came true. Grown men. And what a beautiful experience that is. Again, I'm a value added to those individuals. So one, you don't know what you're doing. Number two, you don't make it an open-ended. Number three, you probably are being too specific with that individual. If you want to coach them, fine. Just call it coaching. Free coaching, if that's what you want to call it. Or you can call it mentoring. I'm not here to tell anybody, how. I'm just giving you what has worked for me and some of the pitfall. And then the other thing, this is super important. You don't do explicit mentoring. You're just a friend who gives advice. No, every guy, that first meeting, I said, this is a mentor-mentee relationship. I am the mentor, you are the mentee. Are we cool with that? This is explicit. It's not implied, it's explicit. And they're like, yes. And then we go into, this is how I work, this is how we're going to meet, this is our communication, these are the boundaries, And it's explicit. Verbal. It's a verbal contract. Are we in agreement? So that's what I've learned.
Excellent. Ken, thank you for sharing your experiences. And as we're looking at your journey of effective mentorship, what are ways that we can measure the impact of mentorship in someone's life?
You measure it by the look in their eyes. And I'm not saying every time. I remember a lot of times when I get with my mentees, they're not happy. I just talked to one a week ago because he has a challenge, because that's what happens in life. We have challenges. Okay? But at least that individual with the look in his eye is like, help me. That's what he's saying is help. I need help. I need emotional help. I need financial help. I need physical help. I need help. And to the best of my capabilities, I will help you. If it's just to listen, I have one guy, we have an hour usually in my meetings. He probably talked 58 minutes of it straight, but he had to get that off his chest. And to have another Black man listen to him, older, that he respects, that's incredible. So that's what, you say the measurement. Yeah, I've had guys go from making 60,000 to making $250,000, 200. I know we got at least 225. If you want to look at the financial success a year, yeah, that's cool. Because he wanted some assistance on the interview process. He wanted some assistance on, should I take this offer or that offer? What should I do when I go in to negotiate? I know all that. Okay. So again, all I'm looking for is your success. And all I'm looking for is let's have some fun along the journey. Because any of the guys who I work with know we're going to laugh. We're going to laugh because we laugh at ourselves. Yeah, you thought that was a problem too. Let me tell you about a real problem. It's hard. And we just laugh. So that's how I measure. It's not always in numbers. This is how I measure. That's a great question. I got a great answer for that one, Jessper. This is how I measure. They keep coming back. They can't wait for because I do every 3 months for an hour, but if you need to do something in between, holler at me and we'll make some time. But they're in the schedule. They have the schedule for the whole year, and it's October 22nd, 23rd. I used to have to book out 4 days, 8 hours a day, 7 to 8 hours a day, back to back to meet with all my guys. Now I'm down because I'm down to 13. Excuse me. I just picked up one this weekend. I'm down to 13. I can do it over 2 day period. But they know when it's coming and they show up. That's how I know it's working. They can't wait. They get on the, oh, yep, time to tell you about a win. Okay, Ken, this is what Mr. Miller, whatever they want to call me. Usually it's Ken. Ken, this is what happened. This is my win. And I love it. Multiple wins. And if they start going directly into the problem, I say, hey, we know how we start. And sometimes it takes them a minute, but you always have a win. You're here. You're on time. You're willing to share. You're willing to be vulnerable. That's a win, bro.
Great ways to measure impact. And Ken, I was curious to know, what advice would you give to someone who feels like they don't have access to the right mentors?
Get access to them. And I'm not being, trite on that. So the key reason most people don't have a mentor that want a mentor is fear. They have the fear of asking someone and that person saying no. An individual that is usually asked to be a mentor, it is such an honor that you would approach me. Now, there's some people that do not have the time. There's some people who are not comfortable with it, but that's literally rare. Literally. Remember, I don't go out there looking for mentees. Either a family member is sent them my way, or they have asked me, hey, would you mentor me? Would you be open to mentoring? Okay. And so my thing would always be is to identify those individuals. What you want to identify is not so much what level of the company they're at, what they've accomplished, but how do they carry themselves? Do they have that sense of joie de vivre, joy of life? Do they have that sense of competency? You something male or female? Of course, that doesn't matter. But do you want the way they walk through life by you observing them? And further, I would say observe people, before you go out and choose someone. You want to make sure you want what they want. And so that's, again, I believe one of the keys, because it's fear-based. And the thing I would say to those people who are afraid to do that, do it. Do it. I believe in you. I believe in you. Okay. And so go out there and make that ask of that male or woman, man or woman, that you believe, could be a good mentor for you. And then this is the question, and I teach this. If they say, I can't, or not now, you say, do you know anyone who you think would be probably a good mentor for me? And most of the time, especially if people who are in the management level or CEO or C-suite, they know people. And they're like, what would be good for you? Bob Johnson or Beth Abrams. I think she'd be great for you because she has this experience, that experience, whatever.
Ken, that's a powerful insight. And I'd like to know, Ken, if you could leave us with one powerful question to really think about after today, what would it be?
Why? Why not? Why not? And and I'm talking about why not on both sides. Why do you not have a mentor? I don't really care about your why you don't have one. Why don't you get one today or in the next 2 days? You gotta give people a timeline. So I want you in the next 48 hours, reach out to someone and ask them to be your mentor. Then the next thing, if you are mid-management or a team lead and above, why aren't you mentoring? The best way to learn how to be a good mentee is to mentor, and vice versa. Remember, I have 4 generations of Black men. I set this up. It's called the Pass It On Group. 4 generations. I have a generation ahead of me. I have a generation I mentor, and then my mentees who I've been working for 10, 15 years are mentoring other young men, mostly of color. Okay. So the question is, why aren't you mentoring? The best way to learn how to be a good mentor is to mentor. And then, why aren't you a mentee? And I'll just be frank on this one. I don't think you should be a mentor. I think you should be suspect as a mentor if you're not being mentored. I'll be mentored till the day, and I'll be honest with you, I've had 2 of my mentors pass away because they're the generation ahead of me. They've passed, they've transitioned, but I still got 3 more, and I replace one. I like having 3.
Ken, those are powerful questions to consider. And Ken, I know you had just written a book, Becoming Ken. Could you tell us briefly about that?
Sure. It's my story. It's a memoir. And you're like, well, how can you write a memoir? If you've been through things I've been through, you might want to write one too. But anyway, I'm just a foster child, 6 years, that was precocious. I was a National Merit Scholar at age 17. I was accepted to Harvard, went to Dartmouth. Unfortunately, I had a drug and alcohol problem, and I was to spend 20 years homeless on the streets. And while I was homeless, I also was arrested and convicted of felonies on 3 different occasions. So I spent many years behind bars. I'm a 3-time convicted felon, but I got out in 2007. And today I own 5 businesses. I'm a speaker. I'm an author. I'm a mentor. I'm a husband. I'm a grandfather. I'm an all-around nice guy. And, and so it's my story. How do you go from the Ivy Leagues to being in prison 3 times? How do you end up being homeless on the streets for 20 years? What's it like to be a foster child? What's it like to go through the trauma of your father shooting your mother 6 times? What's it like being an armed robber, kidnapper? These are all things that I've done. I'm not that person today. I'm just a child of God, and I'm a kind and gentle man. But I've been there, and I've seen things, and I've done things, that are in the book. But there's lessons in every chapter. This is just a bunch of stories. It's about the lessons I learned, the experiences I had, and then there's questions that you can ask yourself. And I only make why I come on podcasts and LinkedIn Live. I have one request. I love to speak from the stage, and I will do it for pay, and I will do it depending on the circumstances. I will pay to come there and speak. I spoke to Sherm up in Anchorage about hiring ex-offenders because I'm passionate about that. I was one of them. And, in Anchorage, they hired me, and it got me on my journey. But what if they hadn't hired me, somebody from Sherm? So it was easy for me to give back on that one. So anyway, that's what the book is about. It's called Becoming Ken. It's on Amazon.com, and it's also on Audible.
Ken, thank you for being vulnerable about your journey and finding that resilience and moving forward. Now, as we wrap up, Ken, what is the best way for people to reach you should they want to learn more about you and the work you do?
I love it. LinkedIn, I'm Ken Miller, 84. Let me just say something real quick. I had a gentleman reach out to me this morning. He said, I read your book. I'm in Seattle. I'm from California. I'd love to have lunch with you. And I'm like, I will make time. You know, just because my book touched you, I don't know this person, but I will make time. So let's do it. So we're meeting tomorrow. That's, to me, that's serendipity. And that's the beauty of my journey. But again, to get a hold of me, Ken Miller, 84 on LinkedIn. And then also you can go to kenmillerspeaks.com. You can send me a DM, direct message through that, or see some more information about me as a speaker and as an author.
Excellent. And Ken, before we go, what is your final piece of advice for our audience?
Yeah, I love that question. It changes probably each day, but I'm going to go with one that I've been going with lately, and that's forgive yourself. Just forgive yourself. Knowing that you did something doesn't make you, it doesn't create an I am statement. It's an I did event. But anyway, and you can do that by forgiveness. And how do you forgive? Well, there's things I could probably talk about for a while on the forgiveness. But just go in and say, hey, I know I did wrong. I know I did something that maybe caused others pain and discomfort, but I'm just, a fragile child of God that made a mistake. And therefore I forgive myself. And then let's move on from there. So that's just one piece of advice.
Excellent. Ken, excellent piece of wisdom. And Ken, thank you again for joining me today. Really enjoyed learning about the value and impact of mentorship, what effective mentorship looks like, and the real importance in finding a mentor or becoming a mentor to others. So really enjoyed that. To everyone out there, thank you for tuning in. If you really enjoyed this conversation, had some great takeaways, please share this conversation and discussion with other leaders. Again, Ken, thank you so much for today's conversation. Really enjoyed spending this time with you. And to everyone out there, thank you again for tuning in. I'll see you in the next episode.